Noam Chomsky. You know the name, brilliant linguist, tireless activist, a man whose work spans decades and disciplines, from the intricacies of human language to the complexities of global politics. Chomsky's influence is vast and his insights profound. He's been called the world's leading public intellectual, high praise but deserved. His contributions to linguistics alone would have cemented his legacy, but Chomsky didn't stop there. He ventured into the realm of political activism, becoming a relentless critic of power structures and societal injustices. For decades, Chomsky has challenged the status quo. His voice has been a beacon for those questioning authority and seeking truth. Whether through his books, lectures, or interviews, Chomsky has consistently urged us to look beyond the surface and understand the deeper mechanisms at play. He makes us question everything, from the narratives fed to us by the media to the policies enacted by our governments. Chomsky's work encourages critical thinking and skepticism, essential tools in an age of misinformation and propaganda. Power, wealth, the media, nothing is off-limits. Chomsky dissects these pillars of modern society with surgical precision, revealing the often hidden connections between them. He exposes how power is concentrated and how it perpetuates inequality and injustice. Chomsky's work is more relevant than ever. In today's world, where information is abundant but often manipulated, his call for vigilance and critical analysis resonates deeply. His insights help us navigate the complexities of our time, offering a lens through which we can better understand the forces shaping our lives. We live in a world of staggering inequality. The gap between the rich and the poor has never been wider. Chomsky's analysis of this disparity is both compelling and urgent. He highlights the systemic issues that perpetuate poverty and the policies that favor the wealthy elite. A tiny elite holds most of the wealth. The rest of us, we're fighting for scraps. Chomsky's critique of capitalism and its excesses is a call to action. He urges us to recognize the inherent flaws in our economic system and to seek alternatives that promote fairness and equity. Chomsky's book, The Prosperous Few and the Restless Many, dissects this reality. It's a sharp critique of power, greed, and the erosion of democracy. Through his incisive analysis, Chomsky reveals how the concentration of wealth and power undermines democratic institutions and erodes public trust. It's a sharp critique of power, greed, and the erosion of democracy. Chomsky's work serves as a reminder that democracy is not a given. It must be fought for and protected. His writings inspire us to remain vigilant and to hold those in power accountable. In a world where the powerful often go unchecked, Chomsky's voice is a crucial counterbalance. His enduring relevance lies in his unwavering commitment to truth and justice. As we navigate the challenges of the 21st century, Chomsky's insights and critiques remain as vital as ever. Chomsky argues that we live in a carefully constructed illusion. We call it democracy, but is it really? Sure, we vote, but do our votes truly matter? Chomsky says no. Not when corporations and the super rich hold all the cards. They use their wealth to influence elections. They lobby for laws that benefit them, not us. The result? A system rigged in their favor. The rest of us are left on the sidelines. Our voices drowned out by the roar of money and power. Corporations. They're everywhere. They control our food, our news, our lives. Chomsky argues that their power has grown unchecked. They've become more powerful than governments. They dictate the rules of the game. Globalization and free trade agreements have only made things worse. Corporations can now move their operations anywhere in the world. They chase cheap labor and low taxes, leaving behind a trail of devastated communities and exploited workers. What happens when a tiny elite hoards all the wealth? Inequality explodes. The gap between the rich and the rest of us widens. Chomsky warns of the consequences: social unrest, political instability, erosion of trust in institutions. We see this playing out all around us. From the streets of Santiago to the ghettos of Baltimore, people are fed up, they're angry, they're demanding change. Chomsky argues that this is just the beginning. Unless we address the root causes of inequality, things will only get worse. Section 5. Echoes of the Past. Historical Parallels and Warnings. Chomsky is a student of history. He sees the patterns. He delves deep into the annals of time, drawing connections between past events and our current trajectory. By examining historical documents and analyzing the rise and fall of civilizations, He uncovers the recurring themes that have shaped human societies, the rise and fall of empires. From the grandeur of ancient Rome to the vast expanse of the British Empire, history is replete with examples of powerful nations that eventually crumbled. These empires, once thought invincible, succumbed to internal strife, economic disparity, and external pressures. The cyclical nature of inequality and unrest. Throughout history, periods of great wealth have often been accompanied by significant social unrest. The stark contrast between the opulent lives of the few and the struggles of the many has repeatedly led to uprisings and revolutions. He argues that we're on a dangerous path. Chomsky warns that the current socio-economic trends mirror those of past eras that ended in turmoil. The growing divide between the rich and the poor, the erosion of democratic institutions, and the rise of authoritarianism are all red flags. One that echoes the mistakes of the past. By ignoring the lessons of history, we risk repeating its darkest chapters. The parallels between today's world and previous periods of decline are striking, and should serve as a wake-up call. He points to the Gilded Age, a time of extreme wealth and poverty in America. This era, marked by the opulence of the few and the destitution of the many, serves as a stark reminder of the dangers of unchecked capitalism and social inequality, a time of robber barons and labor unrest. The Gilded Age saw the rise of powerful industrialists who amassed great fortunes at the expense of the working class. Labor strikes and protests were common as workers fought for fair wages and better working conditions. Chomsky warns that we're repeating the same mistakes. The concentration of wealth and power in the hands of a few, coupled with the marginalization of the majority, is a recipe for disaster. If we continue on this path, we risk plunging into a new era of social and economic upheaval. That we're on the verge of a new Gilded Age. The signs are all around us: rising inequality, political corruption, and social unrest. If we fail to address these issues, we may find ourselves reliving the struggles of the past, one with potentially catastrophic consequences. The stakes are higher now than ever before. Environmental degradation, climate change, and global instability add new layers of complexity to the challenges we face. Ignoring the lessons of history could lead to irreversible damage, not just to our societies but to the planet as a whole. Section 6. A call to action, challenging the status quo. Chomsky doesn't just diagnose the problem, he offers solutions. He calls for a radical restructuring of society, one based on equality, justice, and democratic participation. He advocates for worker cooperatives, campaign finance reform, and a more equitable distribution of wealth. He believes that change is possible, but it won't happen overnight. It requires a sustained effort from all of us. We need to organize, we need to mobilize, we need to demand a better future. Section 7. Personal Reflections, a Millennial Perspective. Okay, I'm Samantha B., I'm a millennial. We're the ones saddled with student debt and a broken economy. We're the ones inheriting a planet on the brink of collapse. Reading Chomsky's book was a punch in the gut. It confirmed everything I feared. But it also gave me hope. Chomsky reminded me that we're not alone, that people have been fighting these battles for generations, and that we can win. We have to. The future of our planet, our democracy, our very survival depends on it. Section 8. Chomsky's Legacy. A beacon in turbulent times. Chomsky's work is a beacon of light in dark times. He speaks truth to power. He challenges us to think critically, to question everything, to never stop fighting for a better world. His legacy is one of courage, conviction, and unwavering commitment to justice. He's inspired generations of activists, scholars, and everyday people to raise their voices and demand change. His work will continue to resonate for years to come. Section 9. Conclusion. Towards a more just and equitable future. As we reflect on the journey we've taken through this series, it's clear that the challenges we face are immense, but not insurmountable. The vision of a more just and equitable future is not just a dream, it's a necessity for the survival and flourishing of our communities and our planet. The Prosperous Few and the Restless Many is a wake-up call. It highlights the stark disparities that exist in our world today, where a small fraction of the population controls the majority of resources, leaving the rest to struggle for basic needs. This book serves as a powerful reminder that these inequalities are not natural or inevitable, but the result of specific policies and choices. It's a stark reminder of the injustices of our time. From economic inequality to racial discrimination, from environmental degradation to political disenfranchisement, the issues we face are interconnected and systemic. They require comprehensive and sustained efforts to address. But it's also a call to action. We must recognize our power as individuals and as a collective to bring about change. History has shown us that when people come together with a shared vision and determination, they can overcome even the most entrenched systems of oppression. We can't afford to be bystanders. In the face of injustice, silence is complicity. Each of us has a role to play, whether it's through activism, education, or simply standing in solidarity with those who are marginalized. We have a moral obligation to fight for a more just and equitable world. The choice is ours. We can choose to ignore the suffering around us, or we can choose to take action, to use our voices and our resources to make a difference. We can continue down the path of inequality and destruction. This path leads to a world where the gap between the rich and the poor continues to widen, where communities are torn apart by violence and despair, and where the planet's resources are depleted beyond repair. Or we can choose a different path. A path that prioritizes the well-being of all people, that values cooperation over competition, and that seeks to build a sustainable future for generations to come. A path of shared prosperity, social justice, and genuine democracy. This path requires us to rethink our values and our systems, to challenge the status quo, and to work tirelessly for the common good. The time to act is now. We cannot afford to wait for someone else to solve these problems. Each moment of inaction is a moment lost, a moment that could have been used to make a positive impact. Our future depends on it. The choices we make today will shape the world of tomorrow. Let us choose wisely, let us choose compassion, and let us choose justice. Together we can create a future where everyone has the opportunity to thrive.